Hello. How are you guys doing? You guys doing good? That's good. Mystery Flesh Pits National Park. So who missed the first episode of this? If you're watching after hours, watch the other one first, like whatever. If you're watching live, we can get you caught up, but you know, you should definitely watch both at some point. Okay. So a lot of people missed it. That's okay. We'll talk about it. So we left on the Horrid Ferret. Yes. Okay. So this is an art project. You can find it on Mystery Flesh Pit singular National Park. That is important. The Mystery Flesh Pit is one flesh pit. This is an awesome thing. Let me see if I can go ahead and let's get a good capture region for this. And hell, I'm gonna put my pretty face up there, even though I didn't do my hair today because I don't give a shit. All right, cool. So there's a. Let's see if we can go to like the beginning. All right, so in 1970 something, they found this thing when they were checking for oil, right? And they ended up finding this giant creature that lives in Texas, right? Lives under the ground in Texas, and they're like, well, before the government gets to it, we should make this into like a place where we can, you know, make money. And so they've got so they started building like gift shops and all sorts of crap in the flesh pit and mining it for resources. The company that did it is called Anodyne. It basically worked on all the stuff. This whole thing is just lots of images of stuff from the flesh pit. There's stuff that lives in there. You've got these guys that live in there, which are these weird, like this thing's the size of a bus. A lot of these things are like, and they're all the other ones are like to scale. It's a giant creature. What would you even get from the flesh? Well, it's like juices are sorry, my nose is doing something awful today. The juices are they'll make you horny and possibly make you live longer and cure like Alzheimer's and all sorts of cool stuff. Except for it's fucking massive and probably evil. But in 2007, there was an accident involving too much water going down its throat, and it threw up and killed like several hundred people. No, it's not snake oil. It's like legitimately like it does do these things. It has medicinal purposes. Let's see if we can find any of this stuff talking about the medicinal purposes of it. Yeah, they made it into like a flavor of Coke. I think we've seen a lot of these. We're almost done with it. But yeah, the amniotic springs, yes. All right, so let's get back into this. So this is talking about the curiously named amorphous shame is a strange and highly unique animal found living in the pockets of the mystery flesh pit. The name was earned by the appearance of the creatures, which seem to have been living collections of loose organs. In reality, amorphous shames have simply been shaped by the forces around them in much the same way that contemporary domestic dog breeds barely resemble their wolf ancestors. Who needs a body? Did you know that amorphous shame got its name from the appearance of the ungainly clumps of organs? Wonderful. So yeah, the idea is that a ferret got in at some point and turned into just a pile of organs Because these shy creatures live their entire lives within the folds or pockets of the moist insides of the mystery flesh pit, they do not need traits like bones, skin, or eyes. Instead, foraging for food, the amorphous shame extends a siphon tube appendage beyond a flesh burrow to slurp up liquid aminos and proteins. There's actually a typo there, right? Isn't the I pre except for C, but that's always wrong. I don't know how to spell protein, I think. Which grow and leak from the nutrient sacs within the mystery flesh pit's anatomy. By losing eyes and other organs, the amorphous shame has cleverly reduced its caloric metabolism requirements. So let's go in order. Artist cutaway of the anamorphous shame in a flesh burrow. Okay. A common ancestor of the amorphous shame, and long-tail weasel, enters the orifice of the Permian-based superorganism. That's what they call the creature that lives under the ground. Wild about nature. I love how, like, 90s that is. More commonly known as the amorphous shame, is a rare and fascinating form of wildlife unique to the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park. The unshapely creatures puzzled scientists and ethicists for years, but thanks to DNA sequencing and biologists today have comprehensive idea about how these interesting animals came to be. Wow. It begins to elongate and form to better navigate the anatomical interpit environment. 4 million years ago, the adaptation of the caustic environment has left the amorphous shame hairless, toothless, and blind. Liquid blobs and environmental processes provide sustenance. It's got a fucked up jaw now. Life spent sucking nutrient nodes has atrophied the muscles of the skeleton of the eyes and limbs are completely vestigial. And then present day removed from burrow. So I guess it kind of like burrows into the wall. It's awful. It's got sucking nodes. Fuck that. Limb rising near Midland. So this is an artistic interpretation of the creature. So when it threw up, it like moved around a bit, and that caused a whole bunch of damage everywhere. So this is an artistic representation of it moving, like kind of readjusting itself because it was throwing up. And then we got Anodyne, Permabasin Recovery, and Superorganism Containment Corporation. So basically Anodyne got in a whole bunch of trouble because they were not really keeping up with the anything to keep this thing from waking up. It's basically like a Cthulhu or something. Like, it's a giant creature that just lives under the ground and goes on for miles. And they're like, yeah, let's build a fucking Burger King down there. And so they did. And they weren't keeping up with OSHA guidelines. And so then it got awoke. Well, it didn't wake up. They used a spell. Theoretically, they used some sort of wizard spell to keep it asleep. And so now it's just, you know, the government did a thing being like, hey, what the fuck were you doing? And they found out all the stuff. And then they were like, okay, well, yeah, you can control it still, but you're just not allowed to have anyone go in there. We can have very limited harvesting of its fluids. So that should be fine. So I guess this is a picture of after it stopped being a national park that people could go into and instead just became a place where you harvest the stuff. It's near a fictional town called Gumption, Texas. This is the Ambien pump to keep it the fuck asleep, because if it wakes up, we're fucked. Let me see if I can get a map of Texas. I guess I should probably do it in a private window so I don't get doxxed. There was a church in there. Google Maps. Okay. So, Texas. So this town is somewhere around here, right? Keep in mind, this is Texas size, so I don't know if you're European. Look at the size of Texas in comparison to whatever your country is. We're bigger. We're bigger than a lot of countries. Like the United Kingdom, you can like crumple that guy up and probably fit that in Texas. Anyway, down in Odessa, somewhere around here-ish, I think is where this fictional town takes place. Or where not only the fictional town, but also like the pit itself is. And so they ended up they woke it up, or they just pissed it off and it vomited, and you could smell it as far as Odessa, but the tremors from the earthquake could be felt as far as Fort Worth, Dallas. So like we're talking about something over here that's like causing tremors all the way out to here. Also, my cousin Throckmorton, who skateboards. So this thing is fucking massive. And so the government's like, yeah, no, you can't do that anymore. And we got a personnel transport shuttle. It's for sale because you're not allowed in anymore. You got the Gumption Motor Hotel for people who are... God, this is so good. They did such a good job with the aesthetic of this thing. Overnight stop in Gumption, Texas, former home of the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park. It looks so legit, just the random shit that they've done. What was that about clowns? There's absolutely nothing about clowns? Oh, the clown. Yeah. Okay, so there was a circuit troupe. I think it'll explain here. Yeah. No laughing matter. Though it may look like colorful ice cream birthday cake covered in glazing frosting, this calcified formation is anything but festive. In 1976, a group of performers accidentally fell into the upper maw of the entry orifice. While the soft flesh pit throat somewhat cushioned the performer's fall, an unexpected dilation of the esophageal fold allowed them to slide down into the then unreinforced area of the pit. Rescue personnel were able to locate the performers inside the digestive sac only a few hours later, but by that time, all 50 stunt people had already been digested by the pit. Rescue personnel cut them out, correctly guessing that many were still alive. An experimental anti-acid spray was discharged on top of the gooey, shrieking mound, but it was too late. Instead of reducing the acidic effects on the partially digested bodies of the performers, the experimental compound flash calcified into a multicolored formation that you see in front of you now. Though hauntingly beautiful, the circus clown Climbus is a somber reminder of why it's always important to observe all safety instructions and always stay on the marked trails while visiting the interior of the mystery flesh pit. So that's just a pile of people. And so this is like a thing you can go and see. It's like elephant's foot, sorta. But you can see faces like through here and here. And there's like one there and one there. Just fucked up, man. A pile of maybe not dead people. Have you read the April Fool's posts? I haven't, no. Oh man, they used to make oh my god, that's so good. I remember these. Go Guppies. God, do they still make these crappy maps like this? This tourist map of Gumption, Texas, around the year 1998, meant to be a caricature of the city's historic downtown area. Gumption, Texas, population 11,500 at its peak, is a small town located approximately 22 miles north of the surface orifice of the Mystery Flesh Pit. Though the discovery of the development of the park, Gumption served as an important staging area for exploration of the pit before full facilities were set up, all while eagerly selling any and every vice imaginable to thousands of roughneck workers who flooded the region to build the infrastructure within the pit. By the middle of the 1980s, the families were the primary draw of the unique national park, so the city pivoted to keep up with the demands of tourism. Today, some 14 years after the closure of the park, the city of Gumption is an almost empty town, a fraction of its former size. The few hotels and restaurants left cater mainly to routine droves of specialist workers and crews which labor to keep the slumbering superorganism contained, its empty streets haunted by the specter of a golden era gone by. You got an Outback Steakhouse, man. And a Walmart. Of course they've got a Walmart, man. I love this. I love this. And then you've got the thing that they use to drive around. The Ventral Environment Excursion Vehicle is developed by Anodyne, again, the company that found it, in the late 1970s to act as a multi-role utility vehicle platform for applications within the Mystery Flesh Pit. The vehicle's architecture employs a set of twin counter-oriented screws for propulsion. As the wet, uneven interior of the Mystery Flesh Pit anatomy makes wheels, tracks, and other conventional locomotion strategies ineffective. Though cargo, flatbed, liquid transport, wildlife transport variants of the VEV, could be found throughout the park, the Safari variant was the one most familiar to park guests. For the price of a ambulateur ticket, visitors to the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park would be driven in a 3-hour tour of some of the most spectacular and inaccessible locations within the park, all while sitting in complete comfort. The tour vehicles comfortably seated 8 guests with room for 1 stewardess tour guide and 2 drivers located. Why do you need 2? Located, I guess it's sort of like planes, how they have 2, just in case. Yeah. You know, my plane. Located in the lower cab beneath the front of the vehicle, inside the main cabin were 8 rotatable plush seats, a small lavatory, a small galley kitchenette for serving refreshments. Powerful lights on the exterior of the vehicle allowed guests to view the otherwise dark pit interior through the large reinforced glass cabin windows. The vehicle was powered by 2 diesel engines connected to proprietary transmission, which provide the necessary horsepower and torque to easily traverse the interior of the Mystery Flesh Pit for navigation. Excuse me. That's a different sentence. A large ultrasonic instrument in the nose of the Vive provided divers with 3-dimensional map of the anatomy within 40 meters, 30-degree cone directly in front of the vehicle. Tragically, several dozen guests were trapped in... Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at people dying. They're fictional people, though, so it's fine. Later died within these vehicles during and following the 2007 disaster. At least 1 vehicle was crushed completely flat, while the door hatch of another was forcefully pried open by opportunistic and hungry park wildlife during the chaos. Great. Perhaps the most well-known incident portrayed in the 2012 film Fire in the Deep involved an armed mining rig and its crew, which were able to escort and protect 2 full tour vehicles until they could safely escape to the surface. Though the crew and the tunneling vehicle were gruesomely destroyed by large parasitic organisms. The grim legacy of the Vive has not diminished the utility of the craft, however, and the vehicles have continued to be used within the Permian Basin Recovery Corporation well into present-day shuttle researchers and other limited personnel through various sections of the former national park. And you got links to things. May I have permission to... Sure, give me a sec. Raid. There you go. Old reliable. So this is unknown. Thank you for the 2 years. Holy shit. Of support. That's a long time, dude. Your encounter with the familiar metal tube begins in this is the April Fool's thing. Begins in the Permian Basin desert of West Texas. An established fixture of the pastoral landscape, a tall water tank was placed here at 1:28 p.m. on October 2nd, 1995. The Bureau of Land Management to collect study rainwater in the area. The dimensions of the metal tower are exactly known as the material composition and place of manufacture. The familiar metal tower has continued to be a welcome sight by few nearby residents who often cite its conservative, unremarkable design as mildly comforting and reassuring. Stupid. Got this thing that's, it's just a water tower. While baby rabbits and other small animals are present within the familiar Metal Tower National Park, guests should not worry about any wildlife risk. All animals have been trained in providing comfort and security and have been released on loan within the preserve by Baylor Children's Therapy Hospital. Besides admiring the beauty of the familiar Metal Tower, visitors are encouraged to try many of the level above ground walking trails surrounding the water tower. These gentle nature trails wander through the pastoral flower patches and offer lucky walkers opportunities to see local baby rabbits, prairie dogs from a safe distance. Ample benches, water fountains, shade structures ensure that even the most delicate visitors will be safe from dehydration or mild exhaustion. The familiar Metal Tower National Park is fortunate to have the capable public partner in the operation and management of the park. Cathostat Landscape Preservation Cooperative has been integral in the preservation and delicate environment throughout the southwestern United States, and continues its long commitment to leaving the land alone whenever possible by promoting ecological living and fighting attempts to commercialize natural resources. The exact opposite of Anodyne. Wonderful. Thank you. Also, tiny goats? Hold up. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's so little. Look at it. Oh. Good. Oh. Oh, that's a baby right there. Well, thanks, man. Look at this goat. Yeah, yeah, yeah! That's what I'm talking about! Yes! Little jumps. Fuck yeah! Okay, anyway. Back to the horrific flesh pit. Voyage beyond the unknown and behold the wider world of nightmares and dreams. Seek out the sublime corpse of the cosmos made flesh. Gaze into the mirror well of deep and find answers in noises and smells and the macabre and fantastic sights and sounds. All of your old doubts may return, but we'll be right here with you every step of the way. Visitor Information Desk, located at level 5 in the lower visitor center. Open 7:30 to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. The Mystery Flesh Pit. Can we look at the goat again? No, we have to have the horror now. Caver Coop is just an edited version of the Home Depot mascot. I was thinking that too. He definitely looks like that guy. The mystery goat pit. Dude, what if there was like a mild depression in the ground, but we put like a reasonable number of goats in it? You know, like 20. And there was a big area so they could be comfortable. Like hold up. All right. So like I'm an artist. Go to column1.com in order to get art that I make and sell. I sell prints. All right. So we got a goat, right? Okay. I'm going to shrink it down so that we can have multiple goats. All right. What if right? Like what if we had like a small depression in the earth, right? Just higher than a goat could jump. And then we put goats in it. And then we brought a lot of goats. And then we fed them. And we put them in the pit. Don't forget the ears. You're right. Sorry. That's a petting zoo, Rev. Yeah, what if a petting zoo with goats? It's like a petting zoo, but it's a pit too. Yeah. What's mysterious about it? We don't know who dug the pit. We just started putting goats in it. And the reason we don't know who dug it is because I like hired 5 guys to do it. And I told them to figure out who was going to do it, and then I'd pay them all the same amount. So we don't know who. I personally don't know. But one of those 5 guys probably did it. I'm just saying, what if... And then we could put a question mark on it. Is the pit mysterious or are the goats? Well, goats are just kind of mysterious in of themselves. But also, we don't know where the pit came from. It's just a small depression in the hole. Like in the ground. It's basically just a petting zoo involving goats. Like a hole this big could probably contain like 3 goats? 2 goats? You know? This is my idea. The Mystery Goat Pit National Park. If the goats can't get out of the pits, how would I get... Well, you're able to jump? Experiences of a flesh pit mine worker. Goats can jump? Yeah, like, but... Maybe we put, like, a ladder in there? Maybe we put a ladder into the... And then we just, like, take the ladder out? Goats can climb? I just came up with the idea. I haven't worked out all the issues yet, okay? Like, but what if we put goats in a hole and we fed them and gave them water and cleaned up the poops? And maybe it's shaded too, but there's like areas they can go to like get some more sunlight, and then we just put them in a hole. What if we put goats in a hole? Dear Brandon, I'm writing you back about your career report project for school. I hope you find my response satisfactory. It's my experience, and it's all true. When I was 17, I signed up on with the company to work a full tour. The money they promised for 9 months of work was more than I could have made in a lifetime in other careers. I was a shit kick. To a child. I was a shit-kicking dropout from Hobbs. You know. Yeah, great. Most people already know that the real money is made at the pumping ballast, but they have it automated to the point where you don't only need someone to babysit the equipment. What people don't know is there is a bundle of other minerals, gels, gases, and oozes that are all worth more than their weight in gold for the myriad industrial applications. The big three are blue tissue, pearls, quartzite, and black bone, orxylite. A rig was outfitted to hunt for pearls, great crystallite spheres that were 2 to 15 feet wide. So 2 feet is, I don't know, length of my arm. My arm's probably closer to like 3 feet, but you know, you get an idea. 15 feet is average guy is about 5'10", which is about 6 feet. So like 3 people stacked on top of each other, give or take. That'd be like 5 meters, I think. Hard as diamond. They're embedded in different ways deep down in the pit. And to get there, you have to cut, trudge, push, and crawl through miles and miles of muscle and guts and cartilage and bone that are fighting you the whole way. That's where we make our paychecks. A full mining crew is 18 men. And yes, it's pretty much always men, which includes 2 to 3 mining engineers, a medic, 2 mechanics, ventral tech, 2 company men to oversee everything, 10 hired hands like me. You sign up for 9 months at a time, split it up into 3-month stints with 2 weeks break in between. Jesus. Down in the flesh, your home and your lifeline during those months is the mining rig, a huge machine that's almost as big as a neighborhood street, bristling with tools and racks and sensors and floodlights. The insides are tight and cramped. Our crew medic has been a submariner for 8 years and told us that the sub he served on was more spacious. Still, compared to being outside the rig, out in the pit, the cramped bunks felt like luxury. Hate this. My boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why horrors beyond comprehension. Yes, that. Where were we? Ideally, the rig cuts as it goes, leaving burnt, cauterized path through the meat, while also crushing and processing any minerals it runs through. In the real world, the pit isn't uniform, and you end up running into all kinds of obstacles requiring interventional solutions. Or as the brass up top decide that they don't want you to just go through cutting certain parts of the anatomy. So you suit up and get out ahead of the rig and poke and prod and pry a walking pace 8 hours a day for weeks at a time. Rigs have big hydraulic arms that reach forward and push and lift and splay open organs or... God, this is gross. Yeah, the vibes here, like, if you guys aren't like getting some of the subtext, this is like there's a name for this. It's like a type of satire where it's like if you extrapolate it to the weirdest thing, then you're like, yeah, why would anyone do this? Anyway, fracking is great, you know? Like that kind of thing, where it's just like, oh, wait a minute, we're doing this kind of stupid shit all the time. You know what I mean? Smolgery? It's probably not the right word. Where were we? This is a thinly veiled analogy for like fracking and such. Rigs have big hydraulic arms that reach forward, push, and splay organs and muscles bundles before their roustabouts would go in and suck up or hose out any blood, cut tendons, cauterized tissues, rinse, and repeat. Because the methods for finding things like pearls are based on the shaky science at best, a lot of the time was spent probing around until you found pay dirt. When you find a decently sized cluster, we'd set up camp and go about breaking them down. The rigs have huge mining lasers they can use to free up any gigantic pearls or black bone clusters. But most of the time, you're out there with big tools trying to break them free. Well, you could do this if the inside of the pit smelled like a steakhouse. No, fuck that. Absolutely not. I'm not going in this thing. I might. It would be interesting, but I would hate it, and I wouldn't want to go, and I'm kind of curious. They call them pearls, but I don't really know what they mean. They said the pearls are quartzite. So it's probably like gallstones and stuff like that. Like kidney stones, yeah, weird crystallized bits of flesh, gallstones. Yeah. So it's pretty awful, but you know, they're risking their life to do it, so there's that. My position has been vacant the year before because the hand got crushed under the tissue catchment bucket. Think giant steel-walled tray weighing half a ton used to catch slop and other meat before it falls on your working area. He bled out because it took hours for the ambulance to get out to the location. In the 9 months I worked on the rig, I had a few very close calls to getting crushed. What keeps you from getting crushed by the weight of all the body above you is the mess of cabling and fold-out frames connecting to 50,000-pound counterweight. After an 8-hour shift, the scope pulling, meaning removing all the links of the endoscope piping from the probe line, I got a bit careless when hitching my tongs to the pipe while it was still in motion. The idea being that it shaved a few seconds off per disconnection and added up over a long shift. What I forgot is near the end or head of the endoscope, the pipe diameter changed to 2 inches. The rig operator was pulling full speed when the larger pipe came back, and my tongs grabbed the pipe and suddenly launched backwards. I held on and to the tongs, and it jerked me a couple feet back before I let go. A heavy cable tong went taut, and the operator stomped on the brakes at the same time. The whole thing jerked to a sudden halt. A huge tackle block was clanging around. The whole cavity was a giant ringer and clanging around the whole cavity like a giant ringer in the bell, and buckled one of the support frames. Everybody jumped and ducked and braced with whatever we could until the rig stopped shaking. It's probably fortunate that we were near the end of the pull, so there's only around 3 tons of backlash when it happened. Yeah, Abby is crying outside the door. Most of the men I worked with had some sort of permanent injury, lost fingers, blown shoulders or knees, etc. The more experience, the more injuries. Even our suits connected to refrigerated air, it was more than 100 degrees and full saturated humidity. It's pitch black everywhere down there, so you rely on your helmet lights, work lights, and rig lights to be able to see. They all give everything a sickly shine. Working down there isn't at all like working in a cave or a mine. Everything is wet, slippery, disgusting, miserable. Nothing is flat or walkable. You have to fight the feeling of raw animalistic terror every moment you're in it. Men weren't meant to be down there in the innards of a monster, but I figure that's why the company pays people what they do. I finished up my contract without injury, and for that I consider myself extremely lucky. I took the money, got an education. Most people don't consider it exciting work, but you'll never find a more satisfying account. I never went back there, especially after the big accident they had in 2007. A lot of stupid kids that still do that kind of work. You sound like a smart kid. Stay the hell away from it. That's my career advice for you. Let me know if you need anything else for your school report. Thanks. Andre Martinez. Don't fucking go there. It's awful. Wildlife safety. Your visit to the Mystery Flesh Pit can be a pleasurable and rewarding experience, or it can be a time of vexation and distress, or even tragedy. Much depends on how much you and your family observe these simple guidelines to avoid designated hazards. Take a moment to read the simple but important safety rules, and then go on a pleasant park experience. Visitors and wildlife. So, chat, for anyone who missed it the first time, chat has the theory that this thing that's the size of a bus is the, you know how we saw the ferret earlier? That got turned into like a pile? Chat seems to believe that this is like some sort of evolved ancient human that's now something else. Because hands. Visitors and wildlife within the Mystery Flesh Pit are frequently in the same areas within the park. It is likely that park wildlife and visitors will encounter one another, but by remaining calm and following basic advice of an experienced vitrobiologist, you increase the odds of a positive outcome, both for you and the wildlife. Before you go, all visitors who partake in these self-guided excursions beyond the reinforced and enclosed trails within the Mystery Flesh Pit are required to attend an orientation at the lower visitor center. During this orientation, a park ranger will inform you about areas that are closed to visitors due to high fauna activity or recent wildlife-human encounters. It's an interesting way of saying people getting mauled by giant, like, aphids or something. It's awful. It is important to be aware when camping and hiking within the Mystery Flesh Pit to avoid wildlife foraging areas. Climbable deposits. I think that the clowns were a type of that, right? So there's more than one pile of human flesh that's turned calcified. So, stay away from that. Gastric bladders, surface wildlife carcass mounds, etc. Contact park staff to obtain current information on wildlife issues. Note, once inside the greater anatomy of the pit, rangers may be able to assist you, but ultimately, you're on your own. Identifying park wildlife. Fungal growth. While not considered wildlife, large fungal growth colonies are commonly encountered throughout the Mystery Flesh Pit and should be treated as potentially dangerous. Many varieties of fungal growths exist native within the pit, though they all share a few common characteristics, such as proximity to the amniotic spring fluid bladders, as well as spores, which are toxic to humans. Park staff routinely prune the known fungal outcroppings, which attempt to grow near developed human activity, but visitors should remain alert as to not accidentally stumble or fall into a colony. Compound surface fauna. On a rare occasion, abyssal copepods and other park wildlife will venture outside the pit and pull in surface animals such as deer, livestock, coyotes, rabbits, into the Mystery Flesh Pit. If not eaten by the park fauna, the animals may undergo a fascinating phenomenon known as anatomical amalgamation. The process, which is not fully understood by park scientists, results in a creation of a compound organism that is a hybrid of constituent surface animals. No two of these amalgamations are the same. That's exciting. Though the resulting physiology often results in similar conditions such as partial fusing of major body elements and relocation of internal organs to locations on the exterior of the body. So just have a lung outside your body. The major body elements of relocations of the internal organs to locations on the exterior of the body because of the gruesome and seemingly haphazard nature of the combinations. Many of the compound surface fauna do not live beyond a few hours or days from the time they are discovered. Should you encounter shambling compound surface fauna, please do not feed it or otherwise engage in activity which could prolong its suffering. That's exciting. It is ultimately extremely unlikely event that you encounter an amalgamation containing one or more human constituent organisms. Contact a park ranger immediately via one of the emergency telephones installed along the trail routes. So you can turn into one of these fucked up half deer, half human things. So that's great. Macrobite bacteria. Most common organism encountered by park visitors during the excursions in the park are various subspecies of macrobacteria, which resemble the microscopic counterparts. These creatures are multicellular and reach sizes up to 12 feet across, 4 meters. The feeding mechanism of the macrobacteria is believed to be related to the cystic nutrient ganglions found within the mystery flesh pit around which macrobacteria congregate in substantial numbers. Osmotic diffusion of proteins, lipids, and minerals from within the ganglia into the macrobacteria appear to drive their asexual reproduction capability. Macrobacteria often migrate in colonies consisting of many dozen individuals through feeding areas within the pits of the anatomy. Though generally passive in nature, macrobacteria are aggressively territorial of feeding zones and pose a risk to human life through suffocation via an oral groove or through caustic bifurcation. Do they float? I would assume so. Why would you ever open this place for human access? Money? Pleasure pits? As their name suggests, abyssal copepods, which is, the thing in the front there, tend to avoid lights, machinery, and other human activity whenever possible, preferring to reside deeper areas of the mystery flesh pit. Unlike macrobacteria, abyssal copepods are predatory and survive on hunting other life forms within the pit. These unusual arthropods have hard chitinous carapaces coated in waxy secretion, which allows them to easily slip and travel within the pit while remaining somewhat protected from the conventional deterrents such as firearms, electrical discharge weapons. Abyssal copepods are considered hazardous to the safety and well-being of park staff, park visitors, as well as commercial mining operations within the mystery's flesh pit. How about this? Let's do a poll. I'm curious. Would you go if assured it was safe? Yes. No. Go. Basic safety tips. As the number of visitors in the mystery flesh pit increases, so does the number of human wildlife encounters. A vast majority of these encounters do not result in wildlife injury or fatality. You can help prevent injury to yourself and others and to park infrastructure by taking a few basic precautions. Minimize disturbance this is something you've never seen before. This is something completely out there. I don't know if you guys have ever gone caving or anything like that. I can't find a snapshot of the 2022 April Fools, but it describes a small park near the metal tower. Wonderful. I don't want to be eaten. I mean, honestly, being eaten is the point. Let's be real. When you're going into this thing, you're going into its mouth. So with 51% of the votes, chat says no. That's really not as split as I thought it was going to be. But all right. Minimize disturbance of the anatomical fauna. If you see flora or fauna within the park and it does not appear to notice you, back out of sight and change your course. Move out of the area or quietly observe at a safe distance without approaching or otherwise disturbing it. Disturbance is evident whenever wildlife changes their behavior because of you. If it stops eating, looks up, raises antenna, secretes scent enzymes, begins making territorial clicks while trying to locate you, you're too close. Fuck that. This thing like turns around and starts like wiggling around and clicking. And some of y'all are like, yeah, no, I'd go. Calibrated Gallo says they have the thing. All right. I think I got your name typed in right. I'll post. I got you, man. You should be able to post it here. Actually, you're a sub. You should be able to post it regardless. It's really small. But there's a little park near the water tower. Yeah, I can't actually zoom in any, so I can't read this. This is very tiny text. Right click, open, new tab. Oh. Ah, there we go. Now it's readable. Park hours, blah, blah, blah. Locker rental. Towel rental when available. Located just down the road from the familiar Metal Tower National Park, the aquatic family spring are celebrated by visitors all over Texas for the crystal clear fresh water which emanates from the natural springs. Originally just a swimming pond, springs have been developed since the 1970s and are a beloved part of the familiar Metal Tower National Park experience. Today, hikers, families, just a regular waterfowl, don't look behind it. Normal. $2 for water, that's about right. For, you know, this sort of thing, yeah. It's also 32 ounce, which is like, you know, it's a decent amount of water. It's like one of those big jugs. Today, hikers, families, and camp groups alike all enjoy the fun and family-friendly water park during the hot West Texas summers. Secret Pond. Passage to Unknown Lands. Calmless Miracle Bridge. Verdant Acres. Suntan Central. Lap Pool. Bridge Stability. What? Bridge of Stability. Special Pool. Little River. Non-special pool. Sand Pool. This one's empty too. Empty pool. We'll fill it later. Water Slide. Splash and Dash Fun Ponds. The Non-Dangerous Bridge. Forgot we even had this little pool. Spring pump and filtration equipment. Big River Country. Temperatures, Secret Pond, Little River Country, Sand Pool, Lap Pool, Big River Country. Splash and Dash Fun Zone. Access to the aquatic family springs is included with your entry pass to the familiar Metal Tower National Park, though visitors will be aware that lockers and towel rentals and picnic table reservations are all available for additional fees. In order to safely enjoy your springs, there are a few rules and regulations we ask you to observe in order to protect and preserve the water park for future visitors. Do not stow personal belongings either at the table or at picnic area or inside a locker within the entry building. What? As the spring are a family-friendly environment, please enjoy the spring-wearing non-suggestive swim attire. Bikinis, Speedos, gang or rapping-related t-shirts, or other suggestive attire are not permitted. Do not claim or reserve lounge chairs. No calling dibs. If you encounter any wildlife within the spring, please pet them. All wildlife within the familiar Metal Tower National Park are service animals trained to provide comfort and companionship to visitors. As the springs are a family-friendly environment, please limit public displays of affection. Guests under age of 16 require the presence of an adult chaperone before entering the park. The ASPCA is involved here. Oh, the safety bridge is here too. So there was also a danger bridge. Non-danger bridge. Is there a proper danger bridge? Calmless Miracle Bridge. Unlike other larger, more commercial water parks located elsewhere, the Aquatic Family Springs puts wholesome positivity at the forefront of all development and management efforts. The springs here at the familiar Metal Tower National Park strive to create a family-first environment, completely free of sexual deviancy, suggestive themes, drug use, over-commercialization, and industrial exploitation of the natural world. It's great. Sorry. After we read this one, I'm going to click very normal and safe. While most life forms in the pit seem tolerant of human presence at distances farther than 200 yards, a yard is about a meter. Each creature is different. Use telephoto lenses and endoscopes when possible. Allow migrating bacterial colonies to pass by your camp undisturbed. So if you have made sure that the wildlife is aware of your presence, so it is not surprised, and you've kept all your gear under your direct control, allow any organism you encounter to travel unhindered. You may be afforded the opportunity to safely observe these amazing creatures in their natural environment. It's still fucked up and evil looking. Circus. I think I read something that someone was saying, and I was like, circus. Exercise proper equipment handling. Do not leave equipment unattended. This includes stent frames, tents, climbing cleats, water bottles, and weapons. Consider using a portable electric fence to discourage aggressive wildlife such as copepods from investigating your camp. In areas sorry, I just read this. An adult copepods emerges from the burrow. Photo copyright Volt Expeditions. It's awful. In areas with damage to the amniotic bladders, minimize the amount of fluid that contaminates your gear and clothing. Many life forms within the pit have extraordinary senses of smell and depend on phosphoproteins within the fluid in order to survive. Some may attempt to hunt you if they smell strong concentrations on your persons or equipment. Wildlife safety brochure. Though the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park remains a model of visitor safety until the disaster which led to its closure, the natural hazards of the pit necessitated guests be aware of the nature of the attraction they were descending into. This brochure, combined with a mandatory 3-minute orientation film showed in the lower visitor center, was intended to act as a minimum standard for readiness for inexperienced park guests. Park service staff, rangers, and mining personnel received a much more in-depth training as part of their operations within the pit. 3 whole minutes of knowledge and a brochure. A model of safety. Tell that to the calcified clowns. All right, real quick, I'm gonna save where we're at, and then I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 31. Okay, 31. Oh my god, there's so much to read here. Holy shit. Intrapark Wellness Resort Service Guide. We're gonna skim read this one. Okay, so this is if you want to stay in the hotel. Let's see. Don't bring weapons. Read the wildlife safety thing. Do not attempt to egress to the exterior service areas of the gastric sea side of the resort building. So they built this over like the stomach, basically. It eventually collapsed in 2007 when like it coughed. To corrosive and toxic gastric chemicals, which which are lethal to human life. Exterior surfaces are slippery or present opportunities to slip off the superstructure and into the gastric sea. The resort building is hermetically sealed for your protection. Don't fucking die in the stomach. Okay. We got explanation of how to mess with the humidity. Obviously, it's super fucking hot in there. Spa, signature facial, signature massage. Natural amniotic ballast combined with an interesting local minerals reduce years of aging and a demonstrated treatment of scars, blemishes, and calcomania in minutes. I don't know what that word is. Seems like a real word. You're allowed to bring the weapons. You're just not allowed to shoot them. How would people... I wonder how many people would get heat strokes. Yeah, because it's fucking humid as hell. Got standard stuff. Wellness. You can go back and read this for yourself if you want. I'm just kind of skim reading. If gastric debris and other organic film is obstructing the window view, please use the button to start the automatic cleaning process. If the cleaning mechanism becomes jammed or obstructed by material during the cleaning cycle, please touch 4 on the guest room phone in order to alert a technician. This is swamp ass, the place. No spooky music this time? All right, hold up. Yeah, I'll buy it eventually. That's probably gonna be my next buy is this, so that way I can need a good. It needs to be like kind of organic sounding. Evil. This we could do something with. It doesn't really matter if it's like good. Okay, they need to like bend into each other, so they should probably like there's a thing where it can be like it what am I looking for? The thing that makes it so that way it shifts from one to the other rather than tries to play each note. basically you need to actually pay for this thing. You can't just use it forever for free. I will just shush your mouth with that. And this needs to stop at this measure, I think, because that way it doesn't. Alright, and then we want to replace this with another toxic biohazard. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's spooky. Did I ever finish VLR? I did, yes. I need wetter. It needs to be wetter. Could add, isn't there like, hold up. Okay, it turns out that's a loop and not just like a note, so hold up. I need like impulses. Where are those? Legacy. Instruments. What's going on? I'm trying to make background spooky musics. Flesh music for flesh people. Alright, cool. Then track 3, sure. Where's the thing? There. Wait, no, I don't want track 3. What's... There we go. And then we want, like... What program is this? This is, Fruity Loops. I don't claim to be an expert in this program at all. Sound Goodizer? I need the, Dynamics. No. Reverb. Yeah, I like this one. There we go. Okay, and then we're gonna set up a all right. Yeah. Just in time for meat music. Everyone's favorite genre of music. I need another one. Wait. Add one. No. Add a new pattern? I want a new pattern. That's what I want. Wait, that has nothing? Okay, that has everything to do with it. Ah, fuck it. Whatever. Piano roll. Maybe a little less common than that. Is that meat sounds, meat music enough for you? That's meat music-y, right? I'm gonna turn this down just a bit. So it's like barely audible. Very ambient. Alright, back to what we were reading. Scans of an in-room service brochure from the resort hotel constructed within Mystery Flesh Pit National Park, likely from around 1998 to 2000. The Inner Park Wellness Resort was one of the most ambitious achievements of the NPS Anodyne partnership. It saw healthy attendance and continual growth throughout its ill-fated service life. The service brochure gives a glimpse into the scale of development that was occurring during the national park. Should indicate the degree in which Anodyne and his partners were making fortunes from exploiting the Permian Basin superorganism. What's the goal of today's stream? Read words? Meet ASMR. These sorts of items are hard to find in this condition, as the Inner Park Resort suffers tremendous damage after the 2007 disaster. Structurally, the facility was built within the walls of the Greater Gastric Sea in the location of existing ulcer that was anchored by hundreds of hydraulic rams and suspension cables. After years of neglect and abandonment, many speculate that the resort is a great risk of collapsing into the churning acid sea surrounding it. So anyway, the hotel is built over the fucking acid pit. Incident form. Wildlife involved. We got incident. Firearms equipment involved. Select all that apply. How did you get hurt? Accident, incident resulting from the actions of wildlife. Human injury, human fatality, wildlife injury, wildlife fatality. Any accidents, incidents resulting in human interaction with wildlife which results in injury or death of any persons or wildlife. Medical attention required at the scene. Damage to park infrastructure. Ballast present at scene. Response of incident ranger remark. For office use only. Gas bowel. Yeah, we saw one earlier. They're fucked up looking. As any park ranger could tell you, no volume of safeguards or training will prevent a park guest from interfering with wildlife. The notoriously dangerous environment of the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park necessitated a highly specialized corps of rangers to respond to incidents involving wildlife and guest safety. But this was often not enough to prevent tragedy. With the 2007 closure of the Mystery Flesh Pit, removing most of the context surrounding the activities within the former park, it's easy to look at these sorts of ephemeral traces of hazard management with a sense of detached wisdom that mischaracterizes the fundamental draw of the park in the first place. The danger was heavily marketed, inherent thrill and major attraction to visitors. It was management of those hazards which presented the real insidious problem of the pit. Wonderful. Flesh pit signage. Evolution of flesh pit signage. Construction entrance. Ecclesiastical personnel proceed to ritual site encampment. Research personnel and surgical trades proceed to the site office. Okay. Cave Recoup says, come and explore the Thunder Ground. Bitch. Is the mystery flesh pit a twink? No. God, no. It's not a bear either. It's a fucking no. Restaurant and lodging. Hiking, camping, and fishing. Special adult fun for mom and dad. Okay. Mystery Flesh Pit National Park, and then you got all the signage that you would expect. Special Resource Development Act passes in 1980, absorbing the park into the National Park System. Attention, extreme danger. This area has been quarantined for your safety. Over 582 people have died attempting to commune with the superorganism. The U.S. government is unable to rescue individuals trapped by the superorganism. You will not receive a gift from the superorganism. You will find no answers beyond this place. There's nothing beyond this fence that's worth dying for. The park is closed and permanently closed and quarantined. The Home Depot's mascot has a name. It's Homer Depot. Those signs exist IRL in the ocean. Yeah. It's not a joke. I know it's not a joke because it's fucking stupid enough to be some corporate bullshit. Is Homer... No! Fuck! Stop asking if everything's a twink. Homer Depot. Following the accidental discovery of the mystery flesh pit and unique phenomenon surrounding it were targets of headfirst and furiously fast-paced campaigns of commercial exploitation. Once architects, engineers, geobiologists, and clerical members of the development team had done their work to make the park safe and viable, marketing teams faced the daunting task of selling the public on the intriguing and miraculous phenomena of the mystery flesh pit, while downplaying the visceral cosmic horror of the pit itself. What a sentence. Families were particularly difficult to sell, as children often displayed an overwhelming fear and aversion to descending into the throat of the pit. One strategy early in the park's history was the creation of a friendly cartoon mascot, Cave Recoup. A brief animated film starring Cave Recoup was shown at the park's visit. Have we read this one? This seems familiar. Where characters would attempt to assuage worries about being eaten alive or swallowed, reassuring children and often... I feel like we read this, right? Yeah, we did. Okay. I was going to say, this seems familiar. Anodyne is a migrant worker program. It's kind of blood... I mean, it could be the pit's blood. I feel like some of this we've seen before. Oh, hold up. Turn off the meat sounds. It's time for other meat sounds. Overview presentation of the 1979 survey expedition to the Mystery Flesh Pit. I'm sorry, what is this? Project Freefall? In 1979, a mission was proposed to study and map the gross anatomical structure. Do you mean like the large anatomical structure or the disgusting? Both work here. What is the USSR doing here? I don't know. This surveying expedition was a joint effort administered by the United States Department of Interior in cooperation with the Soviet Academy of Sciences. Okay. Oh, this thing's 10 minutes long. 6-person expedition team consisting of 3 Americans, 3 Soviet personnel spent nearly 6 weeks in the depths of the superorganism conducting a wide battery of scientific observations and measurements. Despite tragedies and hardships faced by the crew during their mission, a wealth of information collected by the project has been instrumental in the fields of geobiology, venerology, material science, psychology, sorry, it's reading it like biology, you know? Like reading, was it female like tamale, females, female. I respect the fact that you're reading all this out. Yeah, my throat's starting to kill me, so we probably won't go too long. We might come back to this tomorrow, or we might do Monument tomorrow. I forgot what the exact name of Monument something or other is. Famales. Monument myths. That way I don't have to blow my voice out all day. Has been instrumental in the fields of geobiology, venerology, material science, psychology, medicine, and ventral engineering. The Alec, Kansas one. Yeah. Just got a text telling me I can get back on Facebook. It's probably a scam, which is the least... Perma-basin superorganism was discovered in 1973 by drilling crews who believed they had found an untapped aquifer. Excavation of a small sneak hole nearby revealed a colossal living portal of flesh descending to the earth. Workers began referring to this orifice site as the Mystery Flesh Pit. Over the 3 years from 1973 to 1976, scattered explorations efforts slowly began to map and understand the large internal sections of it. Wow, I hate this. You've been banned from... Yeah, like, I don't want to go on Facebook. That's the worst possible scam text I've ever seen in my life. Like, implying I want to be on Facebook. While widespread knowledge and interest in the Permian Basin superorganism remained low within the general academic landscape of the Soviet Union at the time, because they don't have one. The Kazimir Vendegrov of the Soviet Academy of Science was a vocal proponent. Dr. Kazimir Vendegrov was a vocal proponent of the study of the superorganism for possible insights into the origins of early evolution of life. As a science thing, I could see this being important to look into. I just wouldn't go down there for kicks, you know? Like, this is important to understand what the fuck it is, right? Like, you got this giant flesh thing in the earth. Like, what the fuck? That's weird, right? In December 1977, the Soviet Academy of Sciences presented Anatoly Akstrov responded to the U.S. Department of Interior Secretary Cecil B. Andrus letter proposing the cooperative geobiological expedition. There was subsequently a meeting between Vendogrov's team and members of the United States Department of Interior to discuss technical details. The opening was discovered by a mining group. The Native Americans in the region referenced it in some of their legends, so it was a thing prior. Broadly, the joint anatomical was to expand the geobiological ventral understanding of the super or Permian. Y'all think the moon looks at Earth and bites its lip like damn. Permian. Parmesan. The Parmesan cheese basin superorganism with the ultimate goal of lowering humans into the deepest extents of the organism. Aside from the prestige of being the first humans to make such a deep journey, the partnership held the following objectives to the joint anatomical expedition in furtherance of the geobiological research. Expedition objectives: precise determination of anatomical structure throughout the vertical section of the Permian Parmesan Basin superorganism. Sure. Expedition. Bioseismic measurements of deeper reference depth than any prior measurements. Distribution of diversity and parasitic fauna at charted and uncharted depths. Real quick, I'm going to mention this because it's important. If you go to mysteryfleshpitnationalpark.com, you can get to the gift shop. You can buy shit. I feel like if I'm going to, make money off of posting these videos, I should show this. And, I kind of think I want, one of these shirts, maybe. They're kind of amazing. Maybe one of these, real basic, boring ones. They have a toddler shirt. Sure. Engineering tests of equipment at great anatomical depths. Biological studies of exotic anatomy environment located in the deepest known extents of the superorganism. Determination of the effects of the occult ventral phenomena on human health and psychology. Key expeditional personnel. That's from, this person does not exist, I'm fairly certain. Dr. Kazimir Vinograd, Chief of Geophysical Research, Soviet Academy of Sciences, Geobiological Research Scientist, Expedition Commander. How do you even become a geobiological research scientist? Vinogradov. Thank you, Orthogonal. Is that a real name, or is that some American was just that sounds Russian enough? Though there have been historical disinterest among the scientific societies of the USSR regarding that stuff, his research into the theoretical effects of geobiological is a real name. Okay. The creator is working on a coffee table style book on the mystery flesh pit. That's wonderful. It seems like two completely unrelated schools of science to do geology and biology. Biology and then I don't know, medical stuff. Biology and psychology, biology and chemistry and geology, that kind of stuff. But why would you study these two honestly, if anyone does, let me know. It just seems like a very bizarre. Geology and zoology, sure, that could be a thing. Why the fuck do things live where they do? Geology is very theoretical and based off of crunching numbers. Really? I feel like you just go outside and be that's a fucking rock. We know some shit about rocks because I've seen that one and another one prior. And I'll tell you, rocks, they're just, they're everywhere, man. They do things. I don't claim to be an expert. What breed of rock is this? I don't know. During the planning of the expedition, Vindograv directly oversaw the development of the Coronet expedition vehicle. His primary research interest during the expedition was conducting a sonic and X-ray imaging of the deep anatomical structures of the superorganism. Oh, no. I want you to go back in the box. Thank you. Gotta know the number of rocks? Like 10. There's like 5 of them, I don't know. Colonel Nikolai Morozov. I apologize specifically to Orthogonal Caster in chat because these are real names apparently. Like, people are actually called these things, and I'm butchering them. And some of chat may realize how wrong I am, but Orthogonal Caster is probably extra, aware of how wrong I am. So, shout out to y'all who know how wrong I am. Distinguished for his service throughout the USSR and Arctic program in a variety of roles involving hostile environment, managing as a joint anatomical expedition. His duties involved maintaining the vehicle and providing security logistics in the event of hostile wildlife encounters. So you can shoot a thing. I'm pausing because I'm not sure if I can read fast enough. 13-year-old flying rural person. So she's a pilot serving the Soviet Air Force. After a rapid series of promotions, she became the youngest person in the program's history to be selected by the Soviet Cosmonaut Corps. Tragically, an ankle injury sustained during the training forced her resignation of the program. She had since fulfilled a variety of roles within the sphere of vehicle testing and holds the record for the deepest hardsuit dive in the Arctic Ocean. She was selected by the Soviet Academy of Science to pilot the experimental exotic tissue excursion pod through the blue tissue layer into the exotic anatomy itself. Cool. I guess you do need, someone who knows how to fly weird vehicles to do the thing. Self-described adventurer and explorer, Mr. Jackson's early explorations of the Permian Parmesan Basin organism provided much of the groundwork upon which all subsequent this is the guy, right? That's him. Slippin' Jim Jackson. Despite having no formal or even discernible academic background, Mr. Jackson remains an undisputed expert on navigating the internal anatomy of the Permian Basin superorganism through what he attests is cowboy intuition. So we have a scientist, we got a guy who hung out in the Arctic and is going to be the guy who protects them. He's got some military training, ace pilot who would have gone to space had she not injured herself, and then this fucking guy. I love him. Do you have cowboy intuition? You know it. He's got cowboy instincts and a can-do attitude. Undisputed because he has he owns Anatine. Mr. Ortiz is closely associated with James Jackson, who began working with him some 5 years before the discovery of the Parmesan. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm doing it on purpose now. Basin superorganism as an aid to Mr. Jackson. Mr. Ortiz is a capable veterinarial navigator. That's a made-up word. He was on the board. Okay. Having designed many of the instruments used by the pioneering explorers of the superorganism during the surveying expedition, his oversight of the complex radiometric surveying instrumentation provided maps of extraordinary clarity and detail, which are still in use by the National Park Service today. Ortiz. No. Isn't it Ortez? I apologize. I apologize to the Russians. Now I can apologize to the Hispanics. I'm sorry I don't know how to pronounce things. I'm stupid as shit. Rachel Frost, I pronounced that one right, so I don't have to apologize to anyone else, I think. Makes the E sound in Spanish. E. A-E. A-E-O-U. Okay. Rachel Frost, thought I'd just even things out. Frost pioneered the field of vitrobiology while a biology student at the University of Texas, and has published an extensive catalog of research surrounding the Permian Basin superorganism. The primary focus of her research during the expedition survey concentrated on evaluating possible effects of quartz mineral harmonics on the general metabolic processes of the wizard shit they were working on, and conducting tests and to determine the neurocognitive capabilities of the superorganism. As a longtime highly vocal critic of human activity within the superorganism, her inclusion in this expedition was possibly only due to the recommendation of both Dr. Vinogradov and Mr. Jackson. She hated it here. Honestly? First. Really go to town on that O. Make that O do all the work in that. Expedition outline. Area of interest. Yep, that's right about where it was. Just joined. What is this? Giant monster asleep under Texas. Fictional story. Day 1. Vehicle is lowered in the mall of the orifice and affixed for crew arrival. It's kind of cool. Yaki P, thank you for the gift sub, my dude. I read that as butthole. Expedition team continues the descent over the next 2 weeks, cataloging a variety of material samples while performing survey operations. Crew reaches 10 kilometers depth milestone. By the way, the vehicle is called weirdly. Its name means to bury. They wouldn't have called it ominously IRL. Oh, right. So you wouldn't probably call it the thing that gets buried IRL. That would be a weird, like, it's a weird thing to call it. It's a solid point. The coffin. The death coffin. Alright, encounters with previously unobserved macro-parasitic life form organism flees before extensive documentation is able to occur. On the 18th day of the expedition. Wow, I hate it. I don't know what it is, but I hate it. Day 26, the Let's Get Buried Alive vehicle breaches the Mesogletic Fermion Chasm. An advanced base camp is established as preparations are made to begin blasting through the dense cartilage stratum plate at the base of the chasm. Day 27. Well, we know they make it out because the cowboy guy, like, goes on to make this into the park, so at least he makes it out. Day 31, the blue tissue exposed through the blasting. Does anyone know what blue tissue means in this context? Because it's not actually blue, right? So it's like... Anyway, they just started blasting. The excursion pod vehicle is slowly lowered into the cut. Oxygen deprived? Probably a bad idea to eat pizza during... Just in general, bad idea to eat. It's 3 Soviet military personnel and 3 random Americans, and most are qualified of them as cowboy instinct as his great... Yeah, no, the girl from Texas University, or University of Texas, she had degrees in shit. And then there was cowboy and friend of cowboy. Like, the Russians are overqualified. They're the ones who are actually qualified to any fucking degree, followed by a woman from the University of Texas, and then the other 2. Cowboy and cowboy assistant. The cowboy needed to bring his assistant. Single-person excursion vehicle is piloted by... so this is the pilot. After approximately 4 hours, the vehicle passes the yet as unknown area of PB... Permian Basin superorganism. Yeah. Probably referring to the connective tissue, which looks blue under a microscope. Okay. Two Chads, the girl, the Chad, and his sidekick. There's 3 Chads. The woman pilot is a Chad. She was going to be an astronaut, actually, not like twisted her ankle or something weird. You know? Like, she injured herself, so she couldn't go to space. So they're like, hey, you want to go into the death pit? And she was like, all right. Yeah. So she's either stupid or a Chad. Like all of them here. The cowboy's the stupid one, let's be real. He was like, this could make money. And the scientists are like, well, we should probably study it. And he's like, bruh. Cowboy intuition, man. Reports or findings via radio interference in the transmission results in incomplete message. I think there's a difference between space and a death pit. Maybe it's just because I'm aware of space and I've been, you know, the concept of the Okay, all right. I'm gonna pause on this for a sec. Orthogonal caster, if you're around, is this good, like Russian, or is this like someone took Google Translate and just like slapped that in there? This is actual Russian. Oh, they might have it. I'm just curious on whether or not this is like proper. Like, did someone actually know Russian? Like the translation's the next page. I'm just wondering whether or not someone actually knew Russian when they were making this, or if it was a Google Translate situation. Light, reflective, and mixing tessellation, movement of the coarse tissue, prismatic behavior becomes like a fractal. I'll continue to collect a sample of the material. It does look like real Russian. Okay. I mean, it looked legit to me. That's why I don't have, like, as an aside, if you're wondering why there weren't people that spoke languages other than English in the town of nowhere, it's because I don't speak any. And people will fucking know real fucking fast when I screw it up. I try not to go into territory where I don't know what I'm talking about for series. So I want it to be so that way if you have a cursory knowledge of a thing, you'll be like, okay, well, he didn't fuck that up completely. Photo plate of the exotic anatomical environment recovered from the excursion pod vehicle onboard imaging system. I have no Russians in the March of the Mice. Yeah, I mean, no, I don't, because they're... Russia is gone. Along with America and all of the other countries. There was war, and it went bad. Exotic anatomy sample recovered from the excursion vehicle on board the material sampled collection rock. Bad news, you fucked up on how Starbucks tips worked completely in town of nowhere. No. No. Because I don't think that Crystal would give a shit. After spending 5 minutes with the exotic anatomy, the excursion pod vehicle begins to automatically ascend upward through the blue tissue. During this time, transmission between interference between the radio contact between the pilot and the vehicle. The let's get buried vehicle. Like, my concern on whether or not the tipping system at the Starbucks was correct is not there. Like, Crystal, I can explain that away as Crystal was just doing what she felt like because she was overworked. At approximately 4:51, a sharp tensile force is observed by the Chronet crew on the cables pulling the excursion pod vehicle. A general alarm signaling originating from the excursion pod is recorded. Pod ascent operations continue at an increased pace. There's cultural differences, and I feel like culture is highly related to language. The language is like the purest form of culture. Like, what do you have words for? Like, how do you structure your sentences? Sign language, the only other language that I know, is grammatically structured from most important to least important information. English, you can kind of put words in more or less any order, but with sign language, you have to put, what is it? When is it happening? Where is it happening? Who is it happening to? And what is happening? Because you need to know immediately if something is happening that is important. Do you know SL? Like a little bit, not a lot. I'm trying to remember if I know any. My name, COLIN. Excursion pod vehicle surfaces from the blue tissue cut and yeah, I think the idea of being someone who works at a coffee shop or a bartender or something would be much cooler than it actually would be. Yeah, Abby's directly outside the door. She likes to put her head under the door and go meow. I did a little meow. I don't remember most of sign language. I remember like soda, which is fun because it's like you have to make the little. I've told this story before, but like to do it right, you have to like make the sound. And my sign language teacher, he was deaf, and so he was like, oh, you got to make sure you really do it, and so you get the pop sound. If you don't do the pop sound, you're not doing it right. I'm not hearing it. You guys are doing it wrong. And some idiots in the class were like, bro is deaf. He's not. He was fun. The onboard instrumentation is intact. The Pyrex canopy has been shattered inward. The pilot is absent, with the exception of trace amounts of human blood located in the canopy shards. A search is deemed impossible without an operational blue tissue capable vehicle. Christnico is presumed dead. So anyway, because the animals in Town of Nowhere have different cultures, even region to region, I would presume that they would have different languages as well. It's really screwy to say something without giving commitment to reality in the English language. Like, the English language doesn't allow you to say the cabin to the shuttle was broken into and the driver pulled out. Yeah, presumably, yes. Animals will have, like, not only dialects, but also, like, accents region to region. Like IRL. Commitment to reality is a thing in English. See, this is part of what makes learning other languages so interesting, because it's like you learn about these weird bits of different languages. The idea that in order to speak English, you have to... There's some commitment to reality? Do other languages not have that? I can't imagine a language where you could speak... I mean, maybe that's just because I only speak English, but... In English, if you're talking about something that isn't real, you generally use words like if and would and could a lot. So yeah, you have to like tether it to the fact that it isn't real as a... But how the fuck would you... Like, God, I need to learn other languages. That's super interesting and really bizarre. A single photo is recovered from the excursion vehicle on board imaging system, dated to mere moments before the tensile load event. The photograph depicts an unknown organism approximately 500 meters in width floating within the blue tissue layer. Fuck that. Judging from the intense damage to the excursion pod vehicle, it is determined that an attack by an unknown organism was probable cause of her death. We're going to get to see something fucked up. Wow, hate it. Decision is made by the remaining crew to abandon the death pit hole coffin, to abandon any additional survey activities and begin to return to the journey back to the surface, aided by a series of cleating stations installed during the prior descent. An ascent to the voyage is completed in 22 days without major incident. On December 6th, in 1979, the vehicle and crew arrive at the lower base camp facility. Weird cat. Weird dog, man. Hindi syntax is almost identical to JavaScript. That's awful. They were down there for almost a month. Yeah, it took them a while to get down that far. 2 months. Imagine your language being comparable to JavaScript. I feel like that's an insult. It went down 30 days and came back in 22. So yeah, it took them like 2 months to get back. Enormous expanse of the program, as well as the death of Krishnikov, persuades the Soviet Academy of Sciences to discontinue any further activities involving the Permian Basin super. It was stupid. People died. We hated it. I feel like that may be a gross simplification. Probably. Despite this, the project is considered a diplomatic and scientific success. This went great, everybody. The results of the expedition are used to justify the absorption of the site into the federal control as the Permian Basin Superorganism Natural Preserve, though it'll eventually become well known by the public as the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park. End of presentation. Great. Red seismics. Probably go for a few more minutes. That was fucked up. Yeah, it was. So they sent a initial thing down into the pit, and they're like, what the fuck is down here? And the answer is something that eats you. And they're like, this went great. And Russia was like, that was fucking stupid. We're not going back. And then the Americans were like, we could build a fucking Burger King in there, which is probably the most accurate depiction possible. You hear that? The deep and rhythmic sounds present throughout the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park are a result of enormous biological processes. The massive circulatory system of the Permian Basin superorganism, driven by the distant titanic geothermal hearts combined with the sounds of the shifting bone structures, can create a constant low-frequency hum called the seismic frequencies. Scientists carefully study the red seismics in order to learn more about the Mystery Flesh Pit, much like the doctors using a stethoscope. While disconcerting at first, and continues to be even after you think about it for a minute, many who work within the pit park for long periods have reported that the constant sounds become comforting. Listen to your own heartbeat. Can you hear the similarities? Fuck you. Fear versus fact. Meet the mesoglial triclopod. Though commonly considered a nuisance animal, the thing is a fascinating species that plays a important role within the unique ecosystem of the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park by filtering out potentially harmful blood-based parasites. So it's about the size of a human. So that's good to know. 13-footed. The tricholopods are so named because of the 13 legs, 12 of which are elongated for locomotion. Their 13th modified leg, plated in durable keratinous segments used as a head. These quasi-vertebrates pose no threats to humans, as despite their fearsome appearance, they are non-venomous and passive, tending to congregate around high-voltage areas associated with the park infrastructure. You gotta, like, push one of these things out of the way to, like, turn on and off the batteries. I hate it. Fear. The tridecapods, of course, 13 apods, are vampires. The tridecapods are hemovores, obtaining vital nutrients directly from the organic red blood of the mystery flesh pit. So good. Wonderful. They open incisions in the coronary arteries with surgical precision, preventing bleeding and infection. Using 2 special proboscis tubes, the tridecapods ingest fresh red blood and filter out nutrients through before injecting and filtering blood back into the artery. When finished, a resin is secreted from the special gland to seal the wound before moving on to a new site. Wow. Nomadic lifestyle. Wild about nature. Eggs are laid and hatch deep within the firmament biome. So that's the thing that we were just talking about. Early in autumn, and spend 2 months, next 2 months, crawling up the tertiary arterial ring of the Permian Basin superorganism. As they mature, the tridecapods migrate from heart to heart along the vascular chain, spinning as long as a week, clustering in large groups around the coronal arteries and tertiary hearts. It has tertiary hearts. They're big enough to walk around in, and it has multiple hearts. Great. Ventrobiologists theorize that the tridecapods prefer the arteries due to the lower pressure of the vessels when compared to the larger interior heart arteries, while choosing to migrate for reasons of security probably. It's kind of, some of the text has been rubbed off. And nutrient diversity, the tridecapods mate in the mid to late summer in a ritual in which the species gorge themselves with repeated arterial incisions before females ascend into the firmament to lay eggs to begin the cycle anew. Electric navigation. Like many subterranean species, the tridecapods are completely blind and must utilize other forms of sensory information to navigate. Instead of eyes or ears, these animals are equipped with 2 sensory ganguli clusters on either side of their modified leg, which enable the tridecapods to see electric field gradients. These highly sensitive nodes then are augmented by the plates, which are impregnated with ferrometallic flakes, allowing the senses to be focused like an electromagnetic telescope. Although immediately after hatching, the young tridecapods use this electric sensitivity to seek out the electric cardiac impulses which drive the heart contractions within the tertiary arterial system. So in other words, the reason that they hang out around the high voltage areas is because they get confused and think that it's like part of the heart or something. I think you could probably read most of this in any order. So you don't need to have watched the first one prior to this one, but you might as well. This is an order that they were released, which is helpful. It was like a week back. I think it's out on After Hours. I'd have to double check that. Give me a sec. It came out today. Well, there you go. Episode 2 came out today. So there you are. Conservation consideration. Since the induction of man-made electrical infrastructure within the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park, the tridecapods often mistake electrical conduit cables for arterial vessels. Tragedy follows when the animals attempt to feed on by cutting the cables, resulting in electrocution of the tridecapods and costly downtime and maintenance of the park's electrical system. What if they put a tracker through an artery to map the beastie? That would make sense. Yeah, just put a... I mean, like, it'd have to be a non-electrical tracker, though, is the problem. Because then these things would try and, like, eat each other. In addition to aiding the navigation, these ferrometallic plates are rattled to either attract male or fend off potential predators. Sponge-like mucosal membranes are ideally suited for a venereal environment. Wedge-shaped modified foot allows the tridecapods to easily slip and slide within the venereal environment inside the Permian Basin superorganism. Reproductive egg sac hangs below the mouth. Wow. How would you get the tracker to get info from it, though? Yeah, I don't know. It's a good idea, though. Just, like, slap one on here. I think I'm going to go and save here, because my throat is starting to give out on me, and we've been reading for about 2 hours. Almost exactly. So, why don't we call it there, and we can pick it up next time with all of this stuff. We still have quite a bit to go. Including a video and some more stuff. Let's not spoil things. Let me check and see if there's any art. There's not. Worth checking, though. But anyway, if you want, you can always post stuff onto the Brochure. For example, microwave frequencies below 3,000 megahertz can penetrate the outer layers of the skin, be observed by underlying tissues, and result in all known biological effects of heating, including burns, cardiacs, and possibly death. Okay. We did read the 2007 incident report. So that was in episode 2 of this. But anyway, I like that. I like that. I'm going to steal that joke and I'm going to pretend like I made it up. Until we meet again. It's a good joke. I wish I'd come up with it. It's a good one, yeah. No, I came up with it all by myself. Definitely not something that wait, who said it? Rango Reloaded said. I said it first. There's just a delay. You just copied me. You just didn't realize that you were saying the same joke as me. That's what happened. Good and completely original. I know, right? That's what I do here. That's what I do. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'll see you guys tomorrow with something else. What do we got? We haven't done balloons. Dude, I haven't done my dailies on balloons. I'm going to have to go and do that. I don't know. I still haven't finished Pokemon. The trading card game. You guys let me know. Let me know what you want to see. And I'll see you tomorrow for something. I don't know what. All right. Anyway, is this light too much? It might be too much. What does it look like without it? Stream Warhammer with Limes. Limes would have to... If Limes want to, I will teach Limes how to play Warhammer. 100%. I would love to have someone that I know to play with. But anyway, I'm going to go and go. I'll see you guys later.